If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CFs, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Oh, great. You got a doorbell camera. Now you got a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
No.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
Get out of my house!
Ooh, Mom's jewelry. There goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them.
With Sloan's, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, a free doorbell camera.
Free?
One that'll actually work for you. It's not total security unless it's the Sloan Shield. Call 1-800-ALARM-NATE.
We are live a little bit earlier than expected, but we are here talking pro wrestling on the Squared Circle Digest. I am your host, Sean Stanley, and of course, it is Tuesday night. NXT has already started. Tomorrow night, AEW Dynamite, and then we get into SmackDown, which should be pretty interesting this week. And then also we have the AEW Revolution pay-per-view going on this weekend. So we'll look at some of the odds that are out on those shows. And then we'll talk a little bit about what the WrestleMania card. We're going to start out talking about the shape that the WrestleMania card is taking right now. The confirmed matches so far after the Raw that was just aired. Right now we have Cody Rhodes taking on Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal title. The SmackDown Women's title match, which is Rhea Ripley taking on the champion Charlotte Flair. You have the Raw Women's title match, which is Bianca Belair defending against Asuka. And last night it was announced Brock Lesnar will take on Omos. Now, look, I know I don't know if Omos is the guy to fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I get it. The rumor is Stone Cold was given the opportunity. He didn't accept that match. He didn't want that match, and I don't think it was a good match for Stone Cold. That's Brock Lesnar is not a match that you're coming back to. Kevin Owens, yes, you can train, you come back for that. Brock Lesnar's like, it's gonna be like getting hit by a train. And now you've got Omos stepping in, and look, Omos held his own in the match again in Saudi Arabia when it was him and Braun Strowman. But I just don't know that, to me, Omos, and I'm not saying that he's not ready for a WrestleMania stage, but the WrestleMania stage with Brock Lesnar, that's going to be an intriguing one, because again, it's almost that where like you're almost feeding them to the sharks, and let's see, sink or swim. Omos, this is your chance, sink or swim. Let's see what you can do. And he'll be taking on Brock Lesnar. Now, the unconfirmed matches, and Cap for Life, what's up, my man? The unconfirmed matches for the WWE United States title, John Cena taking on Austin Theory. The WWE Women's Tag Team titles, which I'm not in favor of the title switch that they just did with Lita and Becky Lynch winning the titles. At this point, just get rid of the women's tag team titles. Just get rid of them. They're just pieces. If you're not going to use them, I don't know. I just feel like, it's like, hey, show up, we'll give you a title. Here you go. I don't believe Becky Lynch and Lita should have won those titles. I think it should have been a disqualification. You keep the heels kind of hot. But here's some of the rumored matches for the WWE Women's Tag Title match. It's Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Dakota Kai and Io Sky, which that had them as the champions, but they lost the titles last night. So this one might be more. But again, we're still 4 or 5 weeks away from WrestleMania, people. So there's time to sit and make changes to anything that goes on here. But then there's a triple threat match, which has got Rousey, Baszler versus Kai and Sky, with, of course, Becky Lynch and Lita defending the titles. Now, again, at this point, I say just get rid of the tag team titles, the women's tag team titles. Just get rid of them. Another undisputed is the WWE Tag Team title match, which is one I think they are slow playing it, and I think it's perfect. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens taking on the Usos. Right now, you're seeing, remember when the whole bloodline angle started, Jimmy was there for Sami, and Jay was not. And through the whole bloodline, the way it's turned is now Jay is kind of sided a little bit with Sami at the moment, and Jimmy has not. So now it's interesting because ultimately, I think the blood is thicker than water is going to prevail, and Jay will turn on Sami leading into WrestleMania. So you'll get the Usos against Zayn and Owens. So I think ultimately that's the title match that they're going for. They got triple threat for the WWE Intercontinental title match. And if this happens, this is probably going to be one of the hardest hitting matches at any WrestleMania. Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre versus Gunther. That'll be one of the hardest hitting matches at any WrestleMania. They're talking about Hell in a Cell match. Brood Edge versus the Demon Finn Balor. So we'll see how that goes again, because now you're taking Edge and he's going back to his Brood days, and he's going to take on the Demon Finn Balor. We'll see what happens there. Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. That'd be a nice thing to see in that SoFi Stadium, and especially the Demon's entrance, and even Edge as the Brood entrance, because he'll come up through the fire. So all those will be great entrances at WrestleMania as well. And it looks like they've got Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. And Cap, I saw what you said there. What's the deal with Wyatt? I think they're letting him have his freedom to, have the say over what the Bray Wyatt kind of angle is going to be. Sometimes I think they need to start kind of reeling him back in a little bit because he's getting a little bit too far out there, too much. And we'll see. I think it's going to end up being a cinematic match with Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania, sort of like what they did with Cena. And you know what? I think that might be good. That might be a good thing to do with them there. Logan Paul, Seth Rollins, of course, Rey Mysterio versus Dom. And then those are unconfirmed matches. So we'll have to see where they go with some of these matches, man. I mean, and Triple H says he doesn't want a lot of matches. He's not doing the Vince McMahon 600 matches. Throw a battle royal out there. Throw a men's battle royal, the Andre the Giant battle royal the first night. Throw the women's battle royal the second night. He's not doing that. He's keeping it very short, but then also you've got, some of the stars that have been here all year long, hoping for that spot on WrestleMania, and now, you're going to lose it to Logan Paul. And Logan Paul has shown, on the pay-per-views, he's been there for everything, so I can't fault them, and he's going to bring eyes to the product, more eyes than what some of the stars of WWE would bring as well. Cat for Life says Becky Lynch is everywhere. Yeah, she's everywhere. She's the man. She's the man. Asuka and Ronda would be a good duo. Yeah, but they're so similar too, though. I think the Baszler Rousey one is a little bit better, but I can't. I would love to see Asuka and Ronda together too. NXT guys, they're actually doing a what do they call what is the NXT during WrestleMania weekend? They do a pay-per-view. Let me see what the pay-per-view is that weekend leading into it. Sorry, I'm waiting for this to come up here on the computer. I can't remember what they call let's see here. Stand and Deliver. That's going to be April 1st at the Crypto.com Arena. So they'll have their they do a show. That's usually, they have it as April 1st, which is interesting. They might do a NXT show at like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. They did it last year at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then the big WrestleMania kicked in right after that on Peacock. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there, because right after, I think you got to get Braun Breaker up. There's a lot of guys that haven't been on TV. I think Carmelo Hayes needs to be called up. Who's to the moon? Cameron Grimes. Cameron Grimes deserves to be called up. There's a lot of guys down there right now that deserve to be called up, and probably will be called up right after WrestleMania, because that's usually when they bring up the NXT talent at that time, but also they end up letting go of guys as well, guys and gals, that they don't see anything more, creatively that they can do with them. So we'll see what they do, but there's going to be no Andre the Giant, at least as of right now, with Triple H in charge. There doesn't seem to be, we need to have everybody on the card. It's going to be a good, solid card, match after match, and be in and out, not the 5 hours, 10 hours of wrestling that we've gotten the last couple WrestleManias. And I think that's a good thing, man. I think some of these shows, especially once you see the matches that you want to see, you're kind of waiting. Like the Kevin Owens Stone Cold, you knew that was going to be the last match on night one. Some of those matches dragged out to kind of stretch out to them. But then you had the Pat McAfee Austin Theory match last year. I mean, there was a lot of good matches last year in the WrestleMania card. So this WrestleMania is going to have a lot to live up to. I didn't know they're going to keep doing the 2 nights, but they did. So we'll see how that keeps going. I get it. There's a lot of revenue to be had. So, we'll see where that goes. Other than that, on the WWE front, there's not a lot of, to me, the women's tag team titles, which I just discussed, The Brock Lesnar, I think, kind of being wasted at WrestleMania with Omos. But again, if Omos does come through and shows up, that could be a very interesting match at WrestleMania. And then the whole Bray Wyatt thing right now, I think they need to kind of reel that in a little bit. Let him keep his creative freedom. Let him have it. Let him have it. But it's got to start, I guess making sense, some of it. I mean, I haven't seen every vignette. I wish I could, maybe if you made a clip and you brought them all together, you could see them in a row. They might play out better, but it's kind of hard when you're, coming on every Friday and then on Monday you're doing, you're trying to remember what was done on Friday to try to piece it together. But I think they need to start, bring that in. And then also the one thing that I agree with a lot of the writers was you had Bobby Lashley and Lesnar do a disqualification at the last pay-per-view and you don't run it back at WrestleMania. I mean, ultimately, I think Bobby Lashley joins Omos and MVP with Cedric and Shelton, and they become the Hurt Business. So maybe that's going to transpire either at WrestleMania or maybe the Raw after WrestleMania. You'll see the Hurt Business come back together. But, I mean, it just, some of the stuff right now, again, they've got the plan. They already know. They see the big picture. I'm looking at it, small picture right now, and a lot of it, it is just doesn't make a lot of sense. But we'll see how it does go. I can't say that, other than Sammy and Roman and Cody, I don't know that I'm looking forward. And I guess Rhea Ripley now is a good story to watch unfold heading into WrestleMania with Charlotte. We'll see there. There's a couple of good things that could come out of, everything there with a WWE. Let's switch over to AEW. There's quite a bit going on in AEW news-wise now. Vicky Guerrero, she's finishing up with All Elite Wrestling. I know a lot of people probably haven't seen her a lot. She's been on Dark and most of that with Nyla Rose in there, but she's going to be finishing up. She's getting an opportunity with a new shopping network, so she's going to be involved with that. There's a couple more tiered signings that'll be announced later. And then now here's interesting. AEW Revolution, the pay-per-view is this weekend. Here's the Revolution betting odds. For the AEW World Champion match winner, MJF the champion, is a negative 5,000. Bryan Danielson plus 900. So I guess they're putting their money on MJF keeping the title. AEW Women's Championship, Jamie Hayter's the favorite at 1,000. Ruby Soho's a plus 350. Soraya is a plus 450. And then you got the TNT Championship match, Wardlow the favorite at 500. And then Samoa Joe is a plus 300. The AEW Trios Championship match winner, the Elite, is the favorite at 220. House of Black is plus 155. The singles match winners, Hangman Adam Page is the favorite over Jon Moxley at a 600, and Moxley's at a plus 350. And then Ricky Starks is the favorite over Chris Jericho. Ricky Starks is minus 400, and Chris Jericho's plus 250. So those are your betting odds when you look at AEW Revolution. Cap for Life. Let's see what we got. Street Profits need storylines. I don't know why, but I just keep seeing these two bald Viking-looking guys that keep attacking all these things out. Yeah, that's the Viking Raiders. And what's funny is they're attacking Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, and it looks like they're going to end up doing a triple threat match at WrestleMania instead of having them tag teams. I think ultimately you're going to see the Street Profits kind of, I don't know if breakup is the right word, but I ultimately think you're going to see Montez Ford go singles and we're going to have to see how that goes because you saw it in the Elimination Chamber. I mean, Montez Ford is a star. He is a star. And not taking anything away from his partner, but at the same time, right now, it's almost like with the Rockers. I hope they don't run that angle again. But, I could see Montez Ford breaking away and going and doing, his own singles competitor stuff. And they've got the reality show coming out, him and Bianca Belair. There's going to be a reality show coming out also, so something like Ms. and Mrs. So they've got a lot going on with Montez Ford. I mean, he's got the look and he's got the personality, and he definitely has the damn talent to be a star. So I think ultimately you're going to see the Street Profits probably leave the tag team division. The Viking Raiders will probably stay there. I think ultimately you're going to see Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. I don't know. I mean, if they team them up against the Viking Raiders, I don't know that happens at WrestleMania. I just don't think that match has enough carry to be a WrestleMania match. Excuse me there. So yeah, we'll have to see where they lead to on those. I want to come on and talk a little bit about the shape of the WrestleMania card, take your guys' questions, and then look at what happened at Raw last night. So what we got there is sorry about that. I had a cough there. I've been working out more lately, and now I'm like my throat gets dry a lot quicker. So it's amazing. It's amazing when you drink water. When I was drinking soda, my throat was fine. Now I got to drink water. I have to keep drinking water over and over and over. Cat for Life, I didn't watch that. I scrolled through Raw last night. I've had a couple things going on. That's why I was on a little bit late today. Had some calls going on, so I wasn't able to watch the whole thing. But I do know over the weekend, speaking of Cody Rhodes, they brought the Good Brothers back, and they kind of did a Bullet Club reunion with Cody and the Good Brothers in 6-man tag action since AJ's been out. So the Good Brothers have been back in, but I'm sure they put Cody over on Chad Gable last night. And ultimately, I know Otis is probably going to be going over to the Maximum Male Models as Otis. So that's going to be good, man. I think Otis is perfect for that comedy role. I just don't see him, and this is not taking anything away from Otis. It's just after he did all that stuff beforehand, I just can't see him being that badass killer. I see the worm. I see all the joking around. That's who I see Otis as. Like when she's like Otis, and he's like Otis, and he's like, that's Otis to me. That's money making Otis. And I think with him at that spot now with the Maximum Male Models, if they do go that route, I hope they do, because I would love to see him, blossom out and actually, be more him, man. I don't see Otis as that guy that's going to go and be the guy. And I'm not saying that he can't be that guy, but after watching him for a couple of years perform, I just, I don't know, man. Yeah, Otis did get Chad destroyed the other day. Yeah. Yep. Frankie Fresco, what's up, my man? Dad, thanks for joining in as well. But you got questions, throw them in there, man. Let's have some conversations. Let's go back and forth. Already discussed the shape of the WrestleMania card. Looked at the odds for AEW Revolution. And to be honest, I think AEW Revolution, I think you might see one title change hands, which would probably be Wardlow. Although I don't know what they do. I don't know that you can get the momentum that Wardlow had back. I mean, you had him almost being a Goldberg type atmosphere. Not saying, I don't mean that he had to go undefeated all this time. I'm not saying that there, but I just thought the way you had him lose, then you had him get his head, his hair cut off. But then they went into the story about, him and his father and all that stuff. So it makes a little bit of sense. But to me, I feel like they just kind of ran the freaking train right off the track with Wardlow. I feel like that was the guy you could have kept going to ultimately be the guy to dethrone MJF again. I think you could have had it go until he got a chance for redemption. Now, I get it. He came in, he beat MJF when all that crap was going on and all this shit started at the beginning. MJF came in, did a job, rolled out, left, and Wardlow didn't get his, the bump that he needed to get. If you would have kept him rolling and he builds up these wins, keeps the TNT title, ultimately, I mean, you're going to have MJF go over on Bryan Danielson, right? So you've got to have somebody positioned to take the next step up. That could have easily been Wardlow. And you have MJF, the hottest heel, and the momentum that Wardlow had, he would have been easily your top baby face. You could have drawn money. Let's see here. Where we at? Fresco says you'll be going to AEW and FLA Live Arena. I will be there. Still trying to find out if I'll be there in a media capacity or in a fan capacity. But either way, I will be there. Not sure if you spoke about it already, but I honestly thought Monday Night Raw last night was dead. I'm gonna tell you the truth, Frankie. I fast forward through a lot of it. I thought it was okay. I mean, they're setting everything up for 4 or 5 weeks out from WrestleMania. Not a lot to go on, and then the crowd. But again, it's the difference between the way WWE has conditioned their fans to be compared to what AEW conditioned their fans to be. Right? I mean, there was this thing, and again, I don't know how much of this is set up and everything else, but a fan asked for Paige's autograph, gave her money, bam. MJF is kicking beer in people's faces. The crowd's chanting, whatever they want to chant, and it's on TV. WWE, the crowd starts chanting too bad. It goes silent. Again, this is where they've conditioned their crowd to almost be, and it's not like the Japanese crowd, because the Japanese crowd will just sit there and be like, oh, and things like that. But it is very non-reactionary unless you get a holy shit move. I'm telling you, this working out thing isn't working out for me. I think I was in better shape when I wasn't working out. Let's see. Maybe they had a lot of kids in the crowd. No. The kids are more independent. AEW. I just don't think that they don't. I mean, I get it what you're saying. Maybe the younger audience, but it's still not, because you'll hear the crowd start chanting and then they silence the crowd. That's what WWE does, because again, NBC Universal does not allow them. The freedoms right now that Warner Brothers has allowed AEW. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this, because again, WWE at first was thinking about going away from the PG rating. I don't know if that's a good move or a bad move, honestly, man. I don't know, because again, as PG, you're going more toward, the Rey Mysterio crowd. You sell masks, you sell, kids kids make parents buy stuff. And when you're a parent, you go to the thing and you tell your kid, we're going to the show. I'm not buying anything. Don't ask. What happens as soon as you walk through the door? Kid asks for a mask, a shirt, a program, 3 autographs, the whole John Cena wardrobe. And most parents aren't telling their kids no. And if you buy for one, you got to buy for the other, right? So when you look at it that way, it's a big revenue. It's a big revenue for WWE to stay PG. You know, and AEW, I get what they want to do, and they want to be the alternative, and they are the alternative. But I think they've gone a little bit over the top of being the alternative. Let's see, they were talking about it on Bust Open Radio. What is selling WrestleMania to brand? The current roster, the old school roster like Cena or Lita. Well, I mean, right now, there's no old school wrestlers technically booked for WrestleMania. So what's selling WrestleMania right now is the brand and the current roster. Because right now, so far, on the confirmed now again, Cena's been leaked to be taking on Austin Theory. So there's maybe a lot of the hearsay of who's going to be on there might be working into that, Frankie. But again, none of those are guaranteed. You know, ultimately, you think everything's being worked out to where it's going to be Austin Theory against John Cena. You think now that Lita won the tag team titles last night, she's going to probably be on there. You have Edge, I guess, technically, if he works against Balor. And if they bring back the Brood Edge against the Demon Balor, those entrances alone for WrestleMania would be freaking phenomenal. Edge coming up from the floor through the fire, the Demon Balor entrance down that long stage at WrestleMania with the lights doing, you know, on and off and all that. Dude, that would be just amazing to watch, to be there in person. But I mean, right now, WrestleMania is being sold on Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, Charlotte and Rhea, Bianca and Asuka. Those are your confirmed matches, and now Brock Lesnar and Omos. You know, so I mean, when you're looking at it, I mean that's what people are going to get right now. And WrestleMania is pretty much selling pretty quick, from my understanding. Yeah, they did record numbers for Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber. I think they doubled the gate at the last Royal Rumble. Now, I'm not sure, again, the setups, you know, again, a lot of that stuff is, you know, where were they at? Did they have, you know, COVID restrictions? And now this year they double it. I mean, you know, again, they doubled it. I'm not gonna, you know, sugarcoat that or anything like that, but you got to look at everything for what it's worth. But their live events are selling pretty good. Their premium live events, I'm sorry. And by that I mean the pay-per-views. I don't know how their live events are doing right now, but they have, you know, they have upped them up a little bit. Cody's out traveling now, getting ready for WrestleMania. So when you look at what they're doing on live houses, as I said, you know, they booked the Good Brothers with Cody the other night. So now, you know, you're getting a little bit of star power. I don't know how they're working the Usos angle on the live events. I don't know if it's just Jimmy wrestling or if it's Jimmy and Solo. I know I read on one the main event, or the dark main event is Roman and Solo against Kevin and Sammy at one of the MSG shows. So, you know, again, those shows, that's going to draw huge numbers, man. It's going to draw huge numbers. And, you know, I mean, and Sammy's, you know, I think a lot of the WWE was hoping, and by WWE, I mean the executives were hoping that some of the Sammy luster would wear down, and it doesn't seem that it is. It almost seems like it's still picking up because I think they're hoping that, you know, him and Kevin against the Usos would suffice. But I know there's, they're not talking about it, but I know there's a lot of like noise from fans that wanted Sammy in a triple threat. Frankie said, I heard their house shows are doing well, but only when Cody shows up. I can believe that too. Because house shows, the thing with house shows is I love the house shows better than TV tapings. You get longer matches and you get the talent being themselves. In WWE, you are taught to wrestle for the red light. You're not wrestling for the thousands in the building. You're wrestling for the millions watching at home. So everything you do is for that red light. So when TV's on, they don't care. Yeah, they want the reaction when they're doing this stuff. But everything they're doing in the ring is meant for that red light on the camera. Why? Because the millions are going to bring more money than the thousands. Ultimately, that's the way they look at it. It's a marketing. It's a marketing. When we come to your town, you're going to want to see it. Why? Because you watched it on the TV through that red light. So every week when they go out there, they are putting on, the shows that they hope will bring you when they come to your town into the building. And that's one of the things where I think AEW kind of maybe misses the boat a little bit on this. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Well, I sometimes feel like AEW is booked for the fans that are there. Everything's happening for the fans that are there, which is great. But again, you're not marketing all your talent, all your product to the millions that are watching. And again, maybe it's not millions, it's hundreds of thousands or whatever it is. But those are potential, viewers to your show or live, in arena live audiences. And look, last week, actually, AEW went up. And Jon Moxley almost made it through a match without bleeding. But hell no, we couldn't do it. Nope. No, Jon Moxley must bleed. Which is the craziest thing to me, man. And you know what? And I don't know how old some of you guys are. And what's funny to me is I look at Jon Moxley, I'm like, man, he bleeds every match no matter what. And I thought about it. I'm like, man, let me go back and think about this with Dusty Rhodes, okay? Went back and look. Yeah, he got busted open a lot on TV to sell for matches coming up on that week tour. But when he fought, a Scott McGee or, some of the younger guys, those guys, he wasn't busted open. He might have got attacked by Cowboy Ron Bass and Black Bart and One Man Gang, and they busted him open after the match to set up the feud or whatever else. But Moxley, I don't understand why Evil Uno had to bleed. Everything with AEW to me, it feels like, all right, WWE doesn't show any blood. Well, you know what? We're going to show enough blood for them 2 times. We need to do it more because they don't do it, so we need to do it twice as much. And again, I get it. There are mistakes that happen and people get busted open the hard way. Nothing you can do there. But at some point, man, blood used to mean that, you know what? You got me this time. I'm going to get your blood the next time. And I feel like now with Jon Moxley, if you do like a headlock, hard enough, you're going to pop his head and boop, he's bleeding already from a headlock. It means nothing to me anymore watching Jon Moxley. Hell, he stayed blood free through the match. My God, it was amazing. And then Adam Page comes out, and then boom, he's busted wide open. It's like, but it means nothing to me. Why? Because he bled the week before against somebody else, and the week before against somebody else, and the week before against somebody else. So what the hell does it matter if Adam Page busted him open now? I'm not interested in it no more. I'm not interested in it. What? Because Adam Page drew blood? So did the 15 other guys the weeks before that have fought you. Are you going to fight them at the pay-per-view too? It's gotten to a point to where it used to mean something. Now it's just like it's like a headlock. It got to the thing where, remember, Jake the Snake Roberts' finish used to be a DDT. Now guys get DDT 2,000 times off a ladder, off the stage, through glass, and kick out in the same match. Harley Race's finish used to be a goddamn suplex. A suplex used to be a pin. How about those apples? Not today. Oh, let's see. Frankie says, you think AEW should tone it down when the light is on, bring back the energy again? Right now, AEW needs to turn it up and turn it up big. I mean, apparently Warner Brothers is happy with the ratings they're doing. I mean, again, if they're happy and they're paying them the TV rights, then by all means, keep doing what you're doing, I guess, because they're okay with it. Because like O talked about earlier on our show, I mean, TV is what's, you're going to make your money off the TV revenue. Your streaming and all that stuff. That's where your money's coming from. Yeah, you're going to get some money from your, the houses and the live shows and the things like that. But a lot of your revenue is going to come from your streaming and your TV deal. So, I don't know what they can do, man, to make it different. Because it is, last week it went from a 876 the week before to a 1.02. So that was a good increase. That was a very good increase. Now, can they keep it up? That's the first time they've been over the 1 million mark, I think, since Punk left. So, and I've told you before, man, I don't know what the pinpoint thing is with AEW, but it's lost something to me. And look, I can pick little things like Moxley bleeding too much and things like those are my personal opinions. Everybody loves Moxley. Everybody loves that gimmick and everything else there. I mean, I think giving the Guns the tag team titles was a desperation move. You re-signed them, and then they win the tag team titles. You have the Acclaimed. And to me, the Acclaimed is the hottest thing going. If you wanted to get the Guns the title and you wanted the Guns, then you should have turned Billy Gunn to make it mean something. The Acclaimed get, cheated, and then you bring Billy Gunn over with Colton and Austin Gunn and have Billy be that heel ass that he can be to mean something. I mean, what have Austin and Colton Gunn done since they've won the tag team titles? What? Meanwhile, you had the Acclaim having them and made them mean something when they're on TV. Now you give them to the Guns and your titles lose value. To me, it's like what has happened to me when they gave Becky and Lita the women's tag team titles. I was like, yeah, just throw them away. Throw them out. Not taking anything away from Becky and Lita, but I mean, there's tons of other tag teams that could have won it. If you wanted to work out a match for those, you could have done that in so many different ways other than putting a title on them to get a pop. Because now, to me, you've devalued the titles. At this point, I don't care who wins them. They're props. Those titles are props. With as much as you've had Gunther work and Austin Theory work to make the U.S. title and the Intercontinental title mean something, you shit all over the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Let's see. It was amazing how Evil Uno with a mask was able to bleed. Yeah, but he's done that. He's the guy that he can do that with that mask that he has. He does that a lot. But also, he's not, a luchador. So, a lot of it was up until when WCW did and they ripped everybody's mask off and nobody had masks anymore. It used to be like a oh shit moment when a mask was ripped or anything like that. Like that was the biggest disrespect ever. Now it's kind of like commonplace. What do you think of after show they're going to do? Before it was Cody, now it appears to be the whole roster. Oh, the reality show? Yeah, I think, again, it was going to be, what was it, Rhodes Top or something like that with Cody and Brandy. And now it's going to be a reality show following, I guess Adam Cole, Britt Baker, Eddie Kingston, who I'm interested to see. Again, I don't know how much is work. And, again, because the whole thing with MJF, it's like, Eddie Kingston's like, oh, I need to sit down and have a talk with the front office of AEW and all that. And again, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting. I want to see how it's laid out, how it, how much do they give access to? What don't they give access to? That's going to be the one thing that I'll be interested in seeing, like what it actually, that access looks like and how much of it is, geared up like, being the elite and, when Sammy Guevara had his blog and then Ethan Page's vlog and all those, how much it's, really talking about the AEW and the story and watching them, the travel. Because again, AEW's travel right now is Wednesdays. And then maybe traveling somewhere for a Friday show during a pay-per-view period. But other than that, usually Wednesday they record Friday show as well. So it's not like you're following them town to town to town to town and all this stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. I mean, of course, like with Britt Baker, what you can follow her to the dental office, you can see her in her other job and things like that. I mean, those things might be cool. I just don't know how much access they're going to allow us to see. The great Muda just retired his mask, greatest showman lifetime. Yeah, Cat for life. I think a lot of those. I remember. Look, man, when I grew up, it was Kendo Nagasaki and the great Kabuki. I almost said the great Muda. And I used to remember when they would spit. They'd have boom, and the mist would come out. It was just one of those things, and Muda took it to another level, man. Those guys were, again, they're, the Japanese and they did the kicks and they had the kendo sticks and, and all those things. But Muda, when he came, it was all of his, mannerisms, everything he did when he, he did the thing, he spit and he did everything he did meant something. And that's one of the things that I think is getting lost in wrestling today is where, where everything has a meaning now. Now you there's a lot of stuff going on and you're just like, the hell was that for? You still got your guys that do, that do it, I don't say the right way because there's more ways, to pro wrestling than one way. But I was always taught, when you hit a move, let it sell, let it sit. Let the fans see what you did. If I just picked you up and body slammed you to the ground, why am I picking you right back up? Did I not want you on the ground? When you're picking him up and holding him there and then you slam him to the ground, why pick him right back up? Let him sell the back. Let the fans, be like, oh, shit, or whatever. Now it's like body slam, pick him up, body slam, pick him up, body slam, pick him up, body slam. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. You wear people out. And again, there's places for everything. There's times for everything. But I believe that in matches, you should be just like angles, long angles and everything else. You're telling stories. In your matches, you should be telling stories. I get it. Wrestling has evolved from the old bad guy, good guy. That there's gray now in the middle and the old time where The good guy comes in, he wins at the beginning, the bad guy cuts him off, da 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 da. All of a sudden, the good guy comes back and quick win, 1, 2, 3, and the fans are happy. Those were simpler times. Simpler times, my man. Those days, I think, again, not gone, but that's one way to do it now. There's other ways to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with, the way the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and then put the matches together. I believe on some of the things. I don't know why you need to be super kicked 675 times. I don't know why you need to be super kicked 13 times, then, picked up, dropped on your head, and you kick out. But then lo and behold, I roll you up from behind and you can't kick out. I get the 3 count. That's the stuff to me that does not, make everything to me where it's like simpler times. Again, suplex used to be a finish. Hell, Greg Valentine at one point, his finish was the big hammer, dropping the elbow. And then he used the figure 4 and things like that. But it used to be the hammer, man. He dropped, bam, the hammer. Ivan Putski used to be the Polish hammer, right? He put his hands together, hits you across the chest, and you're down. 1, 2, 3. The Ox Baker, the heart punch. I mean, Hulk Hogan was the leg drop. Boston Crabs, yes. Boston Crabs used to be a finish. Hell, who was it? I want to say Exotic Adrian Street used to be the knee lift. He used to whip you to the ropes, come off, and give you the high knee. 1, 2, 3. Man, there's so. I mean, Barry Windham used to be the bulldog out of the corner. Now those are just hell. But what gets me though is in some matches, and again, I get it. It's a different world in pro wrestling. But the essence of what used to draw me to wrestling was that I would watch it and go, he is getting his ass kicked. There's no way. He did kick out of it. Oh, he got a quick 1, 2. Oh, he rolled him up and he won. He came back when I never thought I was going to win. Nowadays, as I said, you take 52 super kicks, 6 knees to the head, and you kick out. But then they catch you with a quick roll up and they pin you and win. Frankie, yeah, Earthquake would sit on you. That's right. Yeah, I mean, splashes. That used to be a finish too. I get it. It was the bigger guys doing the splash. And I'm not even talking about top rope splashes. It used to be hit the rope 1, 2 step splash. I mean, it's a different world. And again, I think there's more ways to pro wrestling now. I think it's evolved. But in its simplest form, it's telling stories, man. That's what hooks people. It's entertainment. It is entertainment. You entertain me. Catch my attention with something. And I think that right now is what, to me, WWE does a little bit better than AEW. I'm not saying in every angle, but the Bloodline had me hooked. Judgment Day I've liked. There's certain things that they're doing. When you go to AEW, what is it? It's MJF. What outside of MJF do you look at and say, and do you say, okay, that's being done good? I mean, Moxley and Page has been drawn out, but to me, it's lost effect because to me, I've watched Moxley bleed from everybody. Everybody. Damn, I almost knocked my desk over. And again, and I'm not saying, one company is better than the other. I love pro wrestling. I love every company, the good, the bad, and again, most of the stuff that I say is bad is me, my opinion on what I feel. You know, I'm not saying that everybody's got the same feelings because everybody looks at everybody. Every wrestling is different, man. Oh, Frankie, you're right. The Acclaim. I mean, no, the Acclaim are still good. I just don't like the story that they're involved in anymore. I think they could have made that story a lot better and also helped Austin and Colton Gunn by putting Billy with them. When Billy slid in the ring, they had the opportunity right there to have Billy turn on the Acclaim. And I get it, merchandise and everything else. But that would have been your perfect opportunity to have them change. And then the Acclaim get screwed out of the titles. And you're chasing, and you have a mouthpiece for the Guns in Billy Gunn, who can really be, you know, an evil ass. And you're telling a story still. That was the one thing I loved about AEW is the long storytelling. Adam Page, 2 years to win the heavyweight title. 2 years. He lost the inaugural one to Chris Jericho. Then he teams up with, you know, Kenny Omega. Then Omega turns on him, becomes champion. And then he comes back and beats Omega. Long-term storytelling. I'm not saying it's got to be that long, but make shit make sense and make shit good, man. This Saraya Tony Storm, I haven't got into it. And you guys, maybe you guys like it. I have not been able to get into it. You know, the us against them mentality, the AEW. Who there is an AEW original? Britt Baker? I mean, Jamie Hayter, if you want to say that, but she actually made her name elsewhere. Ruby Soho's not from there. So, like, the whole angle just does not make sense to me because you're really not, you know, it's not making sense to me. It says, whoever buys WWE, just go ahead and let Jim Cornette take over AEW. I don't know, man. I don't know. I look, Jim Cornette was great. I could sit and listen to him talk for hours. And but again, I think he's still, a lot of what has happened is it's evolved. Wrestling's evolved. I mean, I get it. In its simplest form, yes, it's what he talks about. But there's more ways to it. And that's the part that I think a lot of, you know, you have, you know, your Jericho's. I think Jericho's kind of encompassed it a little bit. You have those guys that have gone to AEW and kind of, you know, taken it in and seen it and understand it and kind of keep it, you know, in a realm for them. Which allows, you know, the old school, I don't really call it old school, but the old mentality of what wrestling is, and then mixing in some of the newer athletic, you know, because again, man, I get it. Wrestling back in the day was you were 6'3", 6'4", 280, and you were built like a Greek god, because if you were built like a Greek god, you can make money. And if you can make money, my God, you'll get booked everywhere in the territories. You know, if you were built, Vince McMahon would sign you in a heartbeat. Hell, look at that one class that he signed. It was Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista. And it goes on there. When you look at that, it's that was what was considered wrestling. Those days are gone, man. Those days are gone. And to be honest, when you look at it, when you look at what WWE is now, think about this. It's Roman Reigns, right? Cody Rhodes. would he be in a main event level looking the way he does, years back? Cody might be maybe the same size as Sean. He's not much bigger than Sean. I remember Sean had to kill himself to get over for Vince McMahon. And his loyalty is what got him over with Vince McMahon. But again, wrestling evolves. It's more athletic now. You got your Ricochets, your Shelton Benjamins. Shelton Benjamin's a little bit older, but Cedric Alexander's. There's guys that Carmelo Hayes. When you look at those guys, that's what wrestling's becoming. But the thing with what I like about what WWE does with them is now, maybe not, the old regime is that they allow them to still do the flips, but they make them make sense. You're not just doing a flip to do a flip. You're doing it to make sense, to win a match, to just, to take your opponent down. Yeah, you're going to do over the top rope. You're going to show your athleticism. You're going to get in the ring. You're going to do your 450s. And when you hit that 450, it's going to mean something. That is the one part that I still cannot get over. And WWE does it too. I think everybody does it. It encompasses everything. Is when, and one of the things that used to be so, upsetting sometimes when you're in independence is that they would use a finishing move that you were using in the main event and they would kick out in the third match. So now that guy can kick out of it, but I'm going to pin this guy in the main event using that move. And that's one of the things too that, used to be crazy. It's crazy. It's a show, it's entertainment, but to me, it's always been about storytelling. And I think that's where some of maybe the AEW disconnect for me is coming from. I love the talent in the ring. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they've all more talented than me, way more talented than me. But put it together with a story to keep my attention. Because after a while, I get bored. And when I get bored, I'll go watch Big Bang Theory. I'll go watch whatever else is on at that time. I'll come back when the next match is on. Or I'll flip back and forth. But once I flip back and forth, I may not come back. And that is, that's what I started doing with WWE when Vince was doing it. It was just got to the point to where it was like, hey, you know what? You want to sit here and not take the effort to keep me watching? Screw you. Click. Turn it off. You don't have to watch it. It's like I was saying, if you don't like what I'm saying, then don't listen. If I don't like what I'm watching, click. It's off. I can watch something else. Trust me. There's 3,000 other channels I can go check out. I'm sure one of them is playing something that'll keep my attention better than what you are. Let's see. Chitara. I'm going to check her out. Women body press dudes. Okay. All right. I'll check that one out, Cap. Mari Jannetty got screwed over and got kicked through a window. Yeah, there's other things involved in that, but hey, that's for another time. So, but it worked out well for Sean. I mean, those things usually do. One person, it's going to work out better for one than the other, and it's usually what happens. So, all right. So don't forget about AEW Dynamite tomorrow night, and then AEW Revolution this weekend, headlined by MJF. Your thoughts about the A&E documentaries coming out on the WWF? I need to watch the Jake the Snake ones. I didn't watch it. It's been getting very good acclaim, very good reviews. Usually I don't like the A&E ones because they tend to shy more toward WWE and and everything there, but and maybe not showing everything, but I guess they went through and showed a lot of what Jake went through. But I love any documentaries, man. I love watching the backstories. I sit and I'll go to YouTube and I'll go down a rabbit hole and I'll listen to shoot interviews from the old days in Florida. Kevin Sullivan ones, there's some Blackjack Mulligan ones, there's Dusty ones, the old days in Florida, and then listening to the guys maybe when in WWF when it was the first WrestleManias and hearing all the stuff that went through and I mean they did the shoot interview on the Ultimate Warrior and what happened with Vince McMahon when he held Vince hostage for money and then Vince sent him out, and as soon as he sent him out, he's like, "You're not getting paid. See you later." And they're just those are the things that I love the behind the scenes thing. But a lot of them, they look out for the corporate company, and that's why I kind of like the Vice dark sides. I like those a little bit more. And again, there's a couple things in there where they exaggerated a little bit on some of the things, but some of the stories were more hard hitting to me than what documentaries on A&E. I mean, but I love documentaries. I love watching them. I love anything that kind of encompasses what you don't get to watch and hearing about, their trials, their tribulations, things that happen that you didn't know about, and like who was it? I think it was X-Pac. Sean Waltman had one where he talked about, the incident with Shawn Michaels and the Marines when he got beat up, and then that's when he lost his smile and all that stuff. And it was one of those things where everybody was gone. It was Sean. It was, I want to say, Sean Waltman, and one more. I want to say maybe Davey Boy Smith was with them, and that's when it happened. And so, when you start seeing those stories and you remember, things that happened that led up to certain things, those are the stories I like, man. So I have to check out all of them. But I love the documentaries, man. Like, you can't go wrong with that. Shoot interviews, all that stuff is fantastic. I think AEW needs to stop taping Rampage. That's why their ratings suck for Friday. Yeah, but if they don't you can't do a live show at 10 o'clock. I mean, where are you at? Where are you going to record it? We're going to do 2 hours of wrestling, and then we're going to give you 1 hour of taped matches or 1 hour of live. The time frame kills them on that show. The 10 o'clock slot kills them. Why they went Friday at 10 o'clock, I have no idea. I get it. You don't want to go against SmackDown. I understand that. You don't want to do that. But then take I don't know. The 10 o'clock time slot to me is just, I mean, if you're on the West Coast, it's 7. Maybe you do all the Rampages on the West Coast, do the Dynamites on the East Coast. I don't know. Maybe that's something you can do, because then that way the show can start at 7 on the West Coast time, or even 8 on, I guess, Central, right? If I'm doing the math right. So, you could do those Rampage on those areas, I guess, if you want to do it that way. But then you start paying more for travel. And I honestly think this is a cost-cutting method is to do that. I mean, look what they're doing now. They did the Ring of Honor tapings and the Dark and Elevation tapings all last weekend in Orlando. So those are taped through, I think they do for the month, a whole month worth of tapings. So, again, it's cost cutting now. It's one of those things, I think, where, the COVID taught them that, what, we can get more. When they were stuck in Jacksonville all those weeks in a row. Yeah, we're putting on live shows, and it's getting, it just showed them what they, what they can do logistically. I thought they would tour more, honestly. I thought AEW would go back out and tour more. But when you look at some of the pictures, and again, maybe some of them are Photoshop, maybe some of them are not legit as every, again, because they come from everywhere. So I'm not saying, legit or not, but when you look at some of their houses, you can see maybe why they don't travel right now, because it just would be, I don't think it'd be money making for them. I can tell you now, I went to the one here in Miami when it was Bash at the Beach, and it was not good. It was not good. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why they don't do good here in Florida. I don't know. This was the week. I think they did the Dynamite, which was Bash at the Beach, and then it started the Jericho Cruise the Thursday after, because they weren't doing Rampage or any of that before then. So it was the Dynamite right into the Jericho Cruise, or was it the Jericho Cruise right into the Dynamite? I can't remember which way it went. I think it was the Dynamite into the Jericho Cruise, and it still didn't sell good. Still did not sell good. And then Frankie saying the tickets right now for FLA Live is not doing so well. The problem with it is it's April 26th, which is still, 2 months away. And if you watch their stuff on TV, again, to me, Tony Khan books for the thousands in attendance, whereas WWE books for the millions watching at home. Maybe that's where the disconnect is coming, because you can get the oohs and ahs from everybody in the thing, but again, their camera angles are not the greatest. They miss a lot of stuff that happens. So, it's one of those things. The first time they came to Miami for Bash the Beach was not bad, but it was because of COVID. It was like the first show for fans. No. This was before. This was before COVID. The first time they did a Bash at the Beach, I want to say, hold on, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look this up. I want to say it was 2000. It was the January 22nd. The event was January 15th. I'm sorry. It was January 15th from the Watsco Center. Then then the series continued with Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. The match from the Cruise airing on the January 22nd Dynamite. And it was a pretty good, because they had DDP also on this card. It was the Elite and Inner Circle. Sheeta and Statlander. Moxley against Guevara. MJF, Butcher, and Blade against Diamond Dallas Page, Dustin Rhodes, and QT Marshall. Pac and Darby Allin. It was a pretty good show. It was 2020, which would have been, I think COVID was February, March. So, maybe, but if you want to blame it on COVID, by all means, everybody, you can use whatever you want to say. I just know that what they end up having to do, which again has happened to WWE, has happened to WCW, it happens to everybody. They had to position a lot of people over to the camera side because there's more people in the seats where they ticketed than where the bot. So they had to throw out there. But again, the show itself is good, is great. The talent itself, the ring action is great. But there's more to it. Again, this is from me. Everybody watches everything differently. For me to hook me, you need to entertain me and tell me a story that I can follow along and not be bored out of my ass. and I need a payoff on it. But again, that's asking for a lot. It is. It's very, again, because everybody's different. So what I don't like, there's probably thousands of fans that love it. So that's the problem with booking pro wrestling. And one of the things that you learn real quickly when you're booking is you can't book what you like. You have to book what the fans like. You may not like it, but guess what? We're going with it because there's more fans that like it, and that's what they're going with. Do you think the WWE looked at Sami Zayn and said, we're going to make that guy a main eventer? Never. They didn't know what to do with him. They had him, they threw him in so he could be on TV and be with the bloodline and did some things in the back, and it started organically working. Every time he showed up with the bloodline, they started chanting Sammy. And then he did the Sammy Uso, and he did the Usi, and then it went off from there. I mean, they were having fun working with each other, and it organically became something because they enjoyed what they're doing. And if you enjoy it, it makes it a lot easier and a lot funner, man. It really does. Sammy was about to leave, and rumors were he was going to AEW at one point. Yeah, but I don't think he was leaving. I don't think Sami Zayn was leaving because him and KO signed quickly. They signed extensions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know how much Sami Zayn, and Sammy has a lot of. He's a very loyal guy. Sami Zayn is, for his causes and everything else. And WWE has been, they understand his beliefs and everything else, and they've worked with him. There's a reason Sami Zayn's not on any of the Saudi shows. Same reason Brian Danielson or Daniel Bryan, whatever, wasn't on the Saudi shows. Those guys, you think they weren't offered lots of money to go over there? But there's reasons. So, I mean, I like right now, and the big thing right now is Kenny Omega is going to WWE. I sometimes feel like, and I know you guys will understand this, at least the ones that listen to the show, that's like when contracts are coming up, that's like the Tua. Everybody's going to the other one. The Cody thing happened, and nobody really knew until it was said. It was done. There was no talk about, I think Cody's leaving. No, it was said. Cody's leaving. That's how that stuff works. I mean, most of the time, you're not going to, like right now with Jay White and some of the other guys that are now finishing up. All these contracts. Everybody's just now going, WWE's got an eye on him. WWE's hard pressed on Kenny Omega. What's hard pressed? If I'm Kenny Omega and I want money, you play hardball. Hey, WWE's giving me this. What do you got, Tony? Okay, all right, I'll stay. Thanks. You match it, I'll stay. And that's what's going to happen. Frankie said, how's Impact doing? I've been watching a little bit more of that. Unfortunately, I don't get the channel that the show, but I've been watching on YouTube. It's pretty damn good, man. I like what they're doing with Bully. I like what they're doing with Mickey James. The women's title. They're making the titles mean stuff. Josh Alexander as the champion. They've got a mixture of, they got a little bit of hardcore stuff on there. They've got your Jonathan Greshams, your good wrestlers. They got some high flyers. They do they blend it all together good. Again, I would like to see more storytelling maybe from them. But like when they did the Bully Ray came in and with Josh Alexander, Bully came in, everybody's cheering for him. He's doing the, the whole baby face thing, and then he challenged Josh Alexander, and then he turned on Alexander and did something, with the wife. I think he like slammed her or something, and then, and then it all went to the pay-per-view and led up, and those things I can get behind. That has a lot of Bully Ray in the story, and Tommy Dreamer's there, and he's another guy that, for everything. Look, man, ECW was a lot of blood, gore, violence, and everything else. But when you look at it at the end of the day, there's a lot of storytelling going on. Taz and Sabu, right? The triple threat, the franchise, Shane Douglas, when Bam Bam was there, Chris Candido, the way they, with Taz trying to get a hold of Shane and chasing him. You had Jerry Lynn, Rob Van Dam, with Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam for a long time. When Dusty showed up there with Steve Corino near the end of ECW, there were a lot of storytelling going on, even with all the violence, even with everything else. There still was that storytelling. And Tommy Dreamer, I think, again, understands that. Bully Ray understands that. And yes, every match, everything doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out angle story, but you should still tell a story within the match. Fans should be able to look at it and be like, okay, who am I cheering for? Who do I like? Who don't I like? And if they can't tell, then somebody needs to make them know that, okay, that's the guy I'm supposed to be booing. Whether you like the bad guys and then you start cheering that guy, whatever it is, but during the story, you realize, okay, I see what's going on here. Within a match, you could still tell a little bit of a story. Yeah, it's not going to be drawn out over 3 years or whatever, but you can even do it in a 5-10 minute match. You can make that there go. Tommy bleeds a lot too. Yeah, but again, that goes back to the whole ECW thing, man. Look, but when Tommy bled, it was against, it's against the top guys. Just Incredible at that time, right? It was Lance Storm, Sandman, all those guys. There was reasons they were bleeding. They were getting hit with kendo sticks. They were getting hit with in the match. The match was like a hardcore match. To me, it's arm drag out of the ring, head into the post, I'm bleeding. Head into the steel steps, I'm bleeding. Hit with a chair, I'm bleeding. There's times to bleed. And again, when you're ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and every match of yours is pretty much hardcore, and it's a pizza cutter across your forehead and things like that, at least it's somewhat makes it, I guess, believable. But there's also a reason they weren't on TV that long, right? Sean, how long do you think? Too long, Terry. Too long. The fact that they held them up last night was too long to me. I'm guessing they'll probably at least hold them till WrestleMania and then maybe lose them in a triple threat. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing there, man. Like I said earlier, those belts now are just props. They're about as exclusive as these two right here. All right. And then I got my X Division one and the Ring of Honor one still to get out. Where's Just Incredible? He was making a return. I'm not sure what he's doing right now. I know he had returned to some of the pro wrestling. All right, guys, man, I went a lot longer than what I thought I was going to go today, but I appreciate everybody jumping in here. And next week, we'll be back here Tuesday, 8:00, and we'll discuss what happened at Revolution. Wait, but the other two girls from Damage Control never wrestled. What? What are the two girls from Damage Control never wrestled? Io Sky and Dakota Kai lost the titles. What other two, Frankie Fresco? Before I go, I don't want to sign off until I understand what you're saying here. And then Trish Stratus finally made her appearance. I guess they wanted her to travel further away from Canada before they used her on screen. Yeah, they never defended those titles. They defended them one time and they lost them. So there you go. I mean, again, at this point, I say do away with the women's tag team titles. It's just as hard as you're trying to, like I said earlier, as hard as you're trying to make Theory and Gunther make the Intercontinental and U.S. titles mean something, and you're doing a good job at it, you're doing just a shitty job making those women titles mean something at this point. Just garbage. To me. You could have had Bayley interfere. You could have had then Trish run out, and then you could have set up for a 6-women tag at the WrestleMania. And then, hey, if you wanted to take the women title belt off, then what you could have done is had Shayna and Ronda challenge Damage Control. And then you know what? Right before WrestleMania, oh my goodness, Becky and Lita and Trish come out, distract Damage Control, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler win the championships, and then they can defend them at WrestleMania. Now you've added 2 matches to the card. That makes sense. But hey, who am I? Just a fat guy behind the microphone. And until next Tuesday, so long from the sun, shine, state.